All right, we're back. What's up? All right, so I have recorded this video a little bit ago, and I decided to delete it and start again because I realized that I had some effect on some. It's called megaphone effect, and it just made the video sound horrible. So we're gonna do it again. And the topic of this video is why I only own about 100 things. But before I get into that, Happy New Year, and I hope that this year for you is going to be way better than the previous year. So it's going to be more prosperous, more clarity, more confidence, and more cash flow into your life for 2025. So I wish that upon your life. And if you stick around here, you're going to be seeing more content on those three pillars. You're going to be getting more from me than probably the years prior. I've been off, by the way. I've been off for about 2 years. I haven't been online, haven't been on any socials, very basically minimal. Haven't really connected with many people recently. I've been in the dark for about 2 years, but it's been good. I have been having a recent mastermind where I rent out. I have a mansion and rent it out, and it was been great, you know. But however, I haven't been that active online at all. But moving forward into this year, it's going to be a bit different, and I'll be sharing more of that here in the near future. However, what's going to be today's topic is why I only own about 100 things. And I'm going to dive into that. So, first of all, I want to kind of give you some background story. I saw this video in 2016, I think it was, about a Japanese man who owned, and I think the video, it's probably still on YouTube. He owned about 100 things. Now, the reality is, it was like he was single and living in an apartment, and he counted like every item, every fork, knife, plate, socks, whatever he had, shirts, every item he had, cell phone. And it was every item he had. And I was like, okay, that's a bit extreme, but I loved the concept and I loved the idea. And what I decided to do was say, how can I adjust this to my life? So I did something very similar. However, I removed the clothes part of it, basically, is what I did, like clothes and kitchen stuff. And basically, when it comes to like kitchenware or let's say a couch, right? Because I've had people ask me all these different questions with this list. And I'll tell you how I narrowed it down is this list pertains to stuff that I own personally, that if I was to pick up and go for whatever reason, these are the items I'm taking with me. So that's that list. When it comes to like a couch or dishes or a TV and stuff like that, that's all for my family, and I don't need it. That's how I see it. So I'm gonna go over that list a little bit, and I'm gonna share with you my edited version and why this has helped me create a lot of clarity in my life and a lot of focus. And it's really powerful. It has a powerful impact. So to take you back a little bit, I saw that video and I said, you know what? I want to try this and I want to do it. So I started the list. And what I did at first was I literally wrote down everything I had. I did it in my phone and I had that list. It was about around 480 items on that list. And then I started removing things. For example, I've had hundreds of books. I'll give you an example of this one. I had hundreds of books that weren't even included in this list. And what I ended up doing was I took the books and I said, okay, I'm going to donate some of these books, and some of them I'm going to get rid of and to my friends and whatnot. So I decided to take all the books and I bought all of them digitally. So I bought them all on audio, but some on audiobook, some on regular ebook and stuff like that. And I removed my entire collection. Now, my entire book collection is digital. However, I'll give you an example. I have like 2 or 3 books that are a bit sentimental to me. For example, it's right here on my list, my scriptures. I still have that. My black journal. It's something I've had for many years. In that particular black journal is where I hired my first coach during sales training. I had my mentorship with Jim Rohn. When I was around 25 years old, I wrote down how I made $1 million, had that breakthrough in my life. And then other important things. I kept that journal, so I have that written down here. And then, of course, some other items that were pertaining to books. I had done this years before with like music. I used to have music CDs. Remember those? Those CDs? And I had gone digital. I did the same thing with my books, went digital. I'll give you another example that I had that I wanted to get rid of. I had all these VHS tapes, and I also had a lot of paper pictures. I found a company. I'm not sure if they're still around, but you could probably find companies that do this. I found a company that digitalize. How do you say that? Turns your photos and your audios and your VHSs to digital. Okay, so I sent them boxes of stuff, and they took VHSs and turned it into MP3s. MP4s. They took audio cassette tapes, turned them into MP3s, and my paper photos. You know what, the 3x5s? Remember those? And they try to say that pretty quick. They digitalized them, and and then I ended up having them in my photo album. So they're all there. I still have them. They're all categorized, and it's great. So that's something I did pretty really easily. I just sent it all out to that company, and I didn't have to worry about doing that process. So that was really good. Then from the photos, those are sentimental things. That was my point, Nathan. How do I, do this with sentimental items? Something you want to keep. You just have to get a little creative in how you're going to do that. And then another thing, I had a lot of home study courses. If you're not familiar with what home study courses are, these are like these 3-ring binders that you get at a seminar, right? Notebooks, all these notes that I had from seminar after seminar, coaching program after coaching program. And years worth, I'm talking like over 10 years worth of programs. What I did is I sent it to another company that scanned them. I think they call like Fujitsu scanners. I don't know. They're one of the fastest scanners. Don't quote me on the name of the company. But they would scan them, and then even my notebooks, okay, even 3-ring binders or anything, they would scan them and they would put it in one PDF file. The next book, the notes, they would scan them and put them all together in one PDF note file. And it was great. And I still have those notes to this day, living in the cloud, all that good stuff. The better part about that is you're able to scan them using like a find, right? You could just, find it through specific words, keyword searches, that kind of stuff. You could find them a lot easier. So that was really great as well. And so what I ended up doing was narrowing everything down. I'm giving you some examples of some items in my life where I would literally take the sentimental things or the things I didn't really want to get rid of, and I narrowed them down and made it digital and also reduced the amount of stuff I had. So by the time I was, if I'm looking at my list right now, I'm right around 102 items. The way I manage this these days is whenever I buy something new, I immediately just add it to the list. And whenever I sell something, I remove it from the list. I want to also go a little bit deeper in why I did this. And I think I mentioned this earlier. I do not include any clothes or shoes in this. Even though I have a limited amount of shoes, I don't include that in this list. Okay, these are things that really I was really inspired to do years ago because I wanted to travel more. I wanted to more like, more of a limitless lifestyle, which I did. And for a long period of time, I was traveling out of a suitcase and a backpack for work and just traveling all over the country, speaking all over the country. And then eventually, as I had a family, we started doing like European trips. We would travel for 3 months or 6 months at a time and just like literally just travel out of small suitcases. And that's when I learned how to become a roller. So if you're a roller, you know what I'm talking about, hit me up in the comments. Power to the rollers. So that's how I wanted to live with less. And what I realized over the time was I realized that as I was living with less, I was actually having more freedom, more mental clarity, and more freedom. And that was just priceless. That was the best part about it. During that journey, I also started having this other form of freedom, which I want to tell you about. I narrowed down during this process the brands I was working with or buying from. Okay. The brands were really specific. I either had some, work interest with them, work contract with them, or interest or some kind of relationship. And I just went deeper in that relationship. So for example, I'm going to give you some of the brands that I buy from today and that I'm partnered with today. is number one, Apple, number two, Nike, Mont Blanc, and most recently Disney. Disney's kind of new, 2024. Um, but if I was to go through this list, like all my tech is pretty much Apple. Um, then most of my outside of clothes, Nike, anything Nike related is going to be Nike glasses. You can see it even here on these glasses right here. Nike sunglasses, sandals, ID holders, backpacks, right? Then if I go into also, which is not on my list, but in my luggage list is Tumi. I decided I'm just going to buy from Tumi. That's it. That's it. That's it. So here's something that I recently experienced I want to share with you and why I did this. So I've been to Dubai probably about 4 times, and I'll probably hit it up this year as well. I was considering also having a mastermind out there. But one of the things I realized, I went to the Dubai Mall, been there like 4 times, and there's like 60 million people that go to this mall every year. And there's hundreds of shops. And when I go to that mall, I literally just go to the same stores. I go to the Tumi store, I go to the Nike store, the Apple store, and maybe the toy store for my kids, but that's about it. That's it. That's the only stores I go to. I'm not wasting time looking from shop to shop, window shopping, and all that stuff. No, actually, what we end up doing when I'm there, or if I take my kids there, we're going ice skating, snowboarding, or sledding, the aquarium, Burj Khalifa, riverboat, whatever it is. We're doing experiences. So we actually spend our time and our money more on experiences than we do with things. And you've probably heard this before. Maybe you've seen it on a video that, guys like Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, he used to wear the same shirt and the same jeans, and he'd have a bunch of them. I think Mark Zuckerberg did a video about this, like he showed his closet, the same items and the same shirt over and over again. Well, I kind of had that same approach. I said, well, if these guys are doing it, it sounds simple, it seems easy. That's personally what I did. But me being committed to Nike, I just go on the app, I do my shopping from an application, they ship it to me, and that's it. Maybe I have a bunch of different colors, but that's really about it. I wanted to make that whole process of life easier and almost like you don't have to think about it. That was the best part. So whenever I'm going through maybe a new area or a new place, I don't really have to go shopping and looking all around at all these different gadgets and gizmos. I have really pretty much a trusted source to do that. So I've narrowed it down, and that has really created some really great clarity in what I'm buying. Now, of course, there's things you might be thinking, well, hey, listen, Apple doesn't sell everything I need. That's very true. For the example, this microphone is not an Apple microphone. It's not that crazy, okay? but of course, you're going to buy things that are not always the same brand. You don't have to get that detailed with it. I have. However, what you probably would want to do is narrow down the amount of stuff that you have. And this was actually also a process. There was a time in my life I had 2 storage units. I think one was a 50 by 100, and then another one was 300 by 300. I can't remember. It was a much bigger size, and they were full. They had like totes and totes of stuff for years. For years, I was just paying for it and thinking like, okay, I'm going to go back to this stuff. And the reality is when I started, downsizing or downgrading or reducing what I owned, I started going through those totes and boxes and said, I'm not going to use this. And let me give you an example. I'm going to give you a tip that I learned from a movie. I think the movie is called Minimalistic or Minimalism. It's on Netflix. You can check it out. But I saw it many years later. But I'll give you an example for an item, like you have a book or whatever it is. You ask yourself these questions about this process, and it helps make the process go a lot faster. So or easier. So you look at the item, you say, okay, when's the last time did I touch this item in the last 6 months? When's the last time I touched this item? Am I going to use this item in the next 6 months? And if the answer is I haven't touched it in the past 6 months, I'm not going to touch it in the next 6 months, then I need to get rid of it. It needs to go. Now, you might be thinking like, okay, Nate, hold on. Sentimental items. Okay, there's another process for that, which I mentioned a little bit earlier. You might want to try a different way or, get around that. We can dive that in maybe a whole nother topic another time. But the majority of things, I'll give you an example. I was talking to a buddy of mine who had I think it was hard drives. I can't remember. He had a whole bunch of computers, like old computers and hard drives, and it was all in storage. And it takes time because you think like, oh, I might need something on there. I might go back to get it. I might use it for something. The reality is, the majority of the time, you will never use those stuff. That's the reality. You will never go back. Sometimes people like I have a bunch of paint sitting right now at a property that we just finished painting. Like I think it was 4 months ago 4 or 5 months ago, we just did a bunch of painting. I'm not going to touch that paint for literally 8 years. So I gave the paint away. But you know what most people do? They leave the paint there. They think they're going to use it in the next 3 years or whatever, however much the time frame is. But the reality is, I know I wasn't going to use it. So I just donated it to my friend, and he was like, wow, so thankful, right? So, and he actually used it, sent me some videos. But that, that that type of sorry, somebody was screaming. That type of mindset in downsizing and reducing what you have and saying, am I going to use this? Is this going to be something I'm going to use, touch, or need in the next few weeks or months, will help reduce the clutter in your life tremendously. And that's one of the, one of the big groundbreaking thing for me. And lastly, I'll share one more story with you, and it just goes down to probably the thing that you sit at the most is your desk. I'll never forget a time I was coaching a woman on commercial real estate, really nice gal. And, you know, however, I remember listening to the phone calls. We would do audio calls at that time. And I could just hear her like shuffling through all this paper, slamming open up and closing doors. And basically I said, well, what's going on? Like, what are you looking for? What's happening on your desk? She says, oh, well, I have all these papers and stuff and yada. And I said, you know what? Take a photo of it and send it to me. So she did. I wish I had the photo prepared right now, but I didn't. But I still have the photo. And and then I gave her a process. I said, what you need to do is you need to first, before you even start or build a business, you need to make sure your base, your foundation, like where you're working from, your desk is clean and organized, and there's no obstructions in the way. Like if you don't use the stapler or the tape every day, then get it off your desk. Like that's a must. If you're not using like this whole glob bucket of pens every day, then get it off your desk. Get it out of sight as clean as possible, as clear as possible, so that you can be focused. Remember, that just creates this energy around you that it affects your mind. So then she went ahead, she took a few hours, cleaned up the desk, sends me a photo, and it's completely organized. And she says, Nathan, this was fantastic. It was great that I could actually clear up my desk and clear up my mind, and I feel so much better. And that's a great place to start. So if you haven't, considered maybe the storage units or the attic or the basement or the other places you store stuff, start with your work desk. Start with where you're mostly active most of the time. Could be your car, whatever it is. But just get that part of your life organized and cleared up so you can have more mental clarity. And that's my message to you for the start of this year. As I go forward and I'll be coming to you live more often, and I'll be sharing with you more valuable things that are going to help you create clarity, build confidence, and create cash flow into your life. Sometimes it's going to be things that you're already doing and you're not making money from. I'm going to share those insights with you and share with you how to do that right here on this channel. So if you're not subscribed, do that, subscribe or follow. If this video was helpful, give it a like. And also at any time, if you have questions or thoughts, you can always leave it in the comments. And then once in a while, I'll periodically review the comments and create a helpful video that could help you in the journey to your entrepreneurship journey and help you grow your life to create more cash flow. So that's today. That's the lesson and also the experience and my results and reasoning behind owning less things, and why I highly recommend you should do it too, to create that clarity into your own life. Moving forward, we're going to be talking a lot more business, more entrepreneurial things. We're going to be talking about how to monetize your message and get yourself generating more cash flow into your life. So stick around, and it's good to record this 2 times. I felt like this one was better than the next, and hopefully it sounds better than